The word stalking tends to conjure images of cloaked figures hiding behind bushes or lurking in dark alleyways. But in the age of the internet, stalking can often mean something far different. While it's now possible for interactions between people to exist solely in digital space, the human capacity for infatuation and obsession seems no less potent. This story is one such instance. It occurred several years ago on the anonymous message board 4chan, where a user developed a bizarre and unhealthy fascination with a fellow poster. Join me for an in-depth look into the infamous saga of the Philmarilion. The story of the Philmarilion began in June of 2013 on 4chan's sports board. A user who went by the name UTV, whose real name is believed to be Phil, caught the attention of another anonymous user who took a unique liking to UTV's post. On a near-daily basis, this anonymous user would collect UTV's post and use them to create a visual collage, posting them to the sports board. This continued for several months, with the stalking becoming progressively stranger and more elaborate. At one point, the user even went so far as to print out several of UTV's posts, place them on a hamburger, and pretend to eat them. Another 4chan user dubbed UTV's fan as the Archiver, and the name stuck. For months, the Archiver became something of an inside joke on 4chan, with some even jokingly accusing UTV himself of masquerading as his own stalker for attention. But one thing is for sure, UTV did not appreciate this attention and would respond with aggression to almost every post the Archiver made. Oddly enough, the Archiver rarely responded to UTV's aggression, instead choosing to remain silent until it was time to post the next collage. The most obvious question is, why? Although the reasoning behind the Archiver's obsession with UTV is unclear, we can make reasonable assumptions as to why he was targeted. UTV was considered one of the more popular and frequent posters on the sports board, and being what is known as a trip user, a term used to describe a member of an online community who's chosen to post under a trip code rather than anonymously like most of 4chan, perhaps he presented himself as an easy target for an aspiring troll. UTV certainly wasn't the only popular trip user on the sports board, but as is often the case on 4chan, a certain chaotic randomness seems to be at work, and perhaps Phil is simply the unwitting victim of such a phenomenon. However, on October 6 of 2013, the tone of the Archiver's stalking switched from jocular fun at the trip user's expense to something much more unnerving, as the true extent of the Archiver's obsession was revealed. At 2 o'clock, the Archiver made the following post. I have been with UTV for 255 threads. This is the last one. My parents discovered my UTV works and they have insisted I remove everything of the type from my computer and be done with it. They will be monitoring my activities now to be sure I cannot do it. They have given me a day to remove everything, and this is my final message. I am sorry to UTV and hope he sees this and understands. I have one more gift to share with him. The gift the Archiver referred to was a PDF file, which he titled The Philmarilion. Many of you will recognize the wordplay from J.R.R. Tolkien's epic fantasy, The Silmarillion. And much like the Silmarillion, the Philmarilion is a comprehensive collection of writings dedicated to its subject. But in this case, the subject wasn't a fictional race of elves. It was 4chan user UTV. It begins with an introduction, stating, "Since the beginning of June 2013, I have taken a great interest in the sports trip user UTV. I have archived his post and made these archives public, and celebrated him in many ways, some of which I have made public, such as our 100th anniversary celebrations. However, most of the things I've written about him have no place in the public eye. This is a collection of private works, stories, images, and other features about UTV that I cannot place anywhere else, and I am merely keeping for my own usage and viewing. It is for him, the archiver states. I do not want anyone else to read it. However, I cannot stop you from doing so. Needless to say, this request went unheeded, and soon the Philmarilion had spread across all of 4chan and beyond. Within its 97 pages, the Philmarilion reveals an exhibition of devotion that is, at times, lighthearted and funny, and others downright harrowing. The range of absurdity in these writings stretch far and wide, with inclusions such as a song parody titled The Ring of Philip, in which the archiver sings, "Love is a burning thing, and it makes a Philippi ring. Obsessed by a wonderful trip, I fell into a ring of Philip." A mini golf course designed using UTV's post as its terrain. An entire city built using UTV's post as its raw materials. A UTV cruise boat in which one might cruise to various UTV continents. Fake dating profiles for both UTV and the archiver, complete with a conversation in which the two found themselves amidst a budding romantic connection. A detailed bank heist in which the archiver meticulously planned out the robbery and escape they might one day pull off. The archiver, as evident in much of the Philmarilion, wanted nothing more than to be close to UTV, and he demonstrated this sentiment by illustrating his own architectural plans for a house in which the two of them might share a life together. In order to feel as if they were actually cohabitating, the archiver made up a list of chores which he assigned to UTV, chores which the archiver deliberately refused to do in his own house, in order to imagine UTV was simply slacking off. And to complete his roommate fantasy, the archiver posted sticky notes on food items in his own fridge as if they were purchased by UTV. As for the moments the archiver must leave the house, he constructed a belt of UTV's post which the archiver would wear while running errands. Although many of these posts managed to walk a thin line between psychotic and comedic, making it somewhat difficult to interpret, much of the Philmarilion could easily be read as threatening, such as the hypothetical ransom note addressed to UTV's parents in the event the archiver chose to kidnap him and keep him locked in his bathroom. Even a funeral plan complete with parlor layout and eulogy, should the worst happen to Philip. All of this is merely a sample of what's included in the PDF document, and for those interested in reading it in its entirety, I'll leave a link in the description below. The Philmarilion concluded with a daily UTV post count, spanning the entire 4 months the archiver spent documenting him, followed by an extensive diary in which the archiver journaled his emotional attachment to Philip's post each day. Needless to say, the Philmarilion was met with shock from the 4chan community, with responses ranging from dismay to amusement. Many cite being creeped out, while others describe it as the greatest thing they've ever seen in their life. But the person who definitely wasn't amused was UTV himself. Understandably, he was terrified. He reportedly went into hiding and even claimed to have contacted the police, although I'm not sure if anything ever came of that or not. We will likely never get satisfactory answers to many of the questions we have, such as who was the archiver and why would he make such a thing? We can only speculate as to whether the archiver was a genuinely disturbed individual who struggled with attachment disorder, or a dedicated troll, willing to write a deliberately unsettling epistolary as a method of shock humor. But one thing is for certain, the Philmarilion has earned a place in the bizarre annals of the internet's ever-growing history. Once again, I'd like to thank YouTube user Astoria who recommended this topic, and I'd like to offer my gratitude to all my subscribers. We recently hit 1,000 subs, and I'm deeply thankful to everyone who has supported this channel thus far. I couldn't be more excited for the future of Atrocity Guide. I hope you all feel the same. If you haven't already subscribed yet, please consider doing so. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, please leave them in the comments below. Also, if you'd like to stay up to date on channel news, you can follow me on Twitter at Atrocity Guide.